Welcome to Fantasy Football Aces. It's your boy, William Wolf. I'm back, and today we have a real special episode. We got Shane O'Mac in the building. We call him the Almanac. We call him Shane Kiper.
Right.
Shane Kiper, the man on your screen now. We live on Discord. He couldn't make it here today, but he is so live. Shane O'Mac,
What's
you
up,
are
man?
one of the biggest Florida State fans in the world. I would probably put you at number one. You're the type of guy that gets angry at your friends because they don't like him as much as you. What a fucking win Sunday against the sorry ass LSU Tigers. How did it feel? What was the experience like? You were there. Let's hear a little bit about that.
I mean, it was an unbelievable feeling. We took over just like we did in New Orleans last year. It was legit like 90-10 FSU fans. Yeah, we just dominated, especially once we hit that second half. Mike Norvell steamed it up. The playmakers on the outside just took over. And I don't know, man. It looks like a championship caliber team.
Yeah,
I haven't seen an offense like this since Winston in 2013.
Yeah.
And I think the playmakers are even better this year. You got Coleman, you got Wilson, you got Bell. Man, you got JT back there. It's just
Clemson took an L. That will look like our toughest team on this schedule. I don't see how any way that they're going to be able to lose a game this year. They're just going to have to win the ACC championship as long as they don't pull a Tebow and blow it against somebody. But let's get into what we're here for today. Every year, my guy Shane Almanac Kiper does grades in our fantasy football league, our big money $2,000 salary cap diamond league. And we all really enjoy these grades and analysis that he puts out on our what is it called? It is our chat, like not the chat, but on Yahoo Sports they have the little where the forum. That's what it's called, the forum. And he goes in, and we anticipate this thing every year. It's hilarious. He picks his 6 playoff teams, his 6 losers, gives a really deep analysis on each team. We all really enjoy it. I really respect Shane O'Mac and his and he's a very competitive player in the diamond. We always go at it, and we're one of the most competitive too in the group, I'd say, outside of maybe 3 or 4 guys. What's that?
I said we usually like the same people.
Yeah, we had a couple battles for players this year, including Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields, a few others. But let's get right into it. I'm going to let you take over, brother. Do your thing. I'll comment here and there.
All right, so I'm just going down the list from whatever Yahoo lists as team names. The first one is 1-800-SEC. I dialed that after the FSU game. Nobody picked up. I don't know what happened. But he should probably change his team name. I think he might have lost some bread. But with Fantasy Football Aces, I don't think that's going to happen to you. Anyways, here we go. So the strength of this guy's team is clearly his depth. I mean, the guy has talent all over the place. But the problem is I just don't see elite talent that, could any week score 25 plus points. You need a couple of those guys on your team. He go ahead.
No, I wasn't saying nothing. Keep doing your thing.
So he does have Debo. Debo did that a couple years ago. But now I see that offense, there's more mouths to feed. You look at the offseason reports, and they say Brandon Ayuk's even passing him in the pecking order. Other than that, man, it's just good players. His bench is deep, and I think that's what will save him. Because when it gets to the buys, man, you got to plug and play.
He has Trevor Lawrence, correct?
What was that?
He has Trevor Lawrence, correct? Yeah, so right. Trevor, he's the one quarterback outside of my 5 that I would invest in. I just believe that Trevor, he could have an MVP year this year with Ridley. I mean, Ridley's there's all the reports from camp with Ridley is that he's going to be going back to a top 5 receiver in the NFL. I don't buy it. I think it's tougher to come back in the NFL than that. And you got to think about it like this too. I love these reports from camp because who the fuck's he going against? He's going against Jaguar fucking corners, and I just don't buy it. We got to see more. I got to see him do it on the field. High's team, just to comment on your about Debo. It seems to me like Purdy really likes throwing to Kittle. I know Kittle's a little banged up here, but I don't know. I just feel like you said, with Christian McCaffrey now and Elijah Mitchell, that team wants to run the ball. I just think Debo's kind of he's a playmaker on the team, which is great. That's why they're a Super Bowl contender. But I don't know if he's a fantasy football like superstar, right?
Right.
Go for it. But so, what do you think?
So moving on, I say the strength is his depth. The depth will help him during the bye weeks. The weaknesses are that lack of high-end players. But my favorite pick is Gibbs. Man, the guy's just dynamic. I like his tape more than Bijan's coming out.
Me too.
His situation though isn't as good as Bijan's. He's going to be splitting with David.
I think it's better.
What was that?
I think it's better. I like Gibbs' situation better.
Yeah, I mean, Goff loves to check down, so you got some points there. It just depends what role. If they just put Gibbs in that Swift role, what's the floor? I don't know, but I love Gibbs, and I would have bid on him as hard as I could, but I ran out of money because he was put out there late. So
yeah, I maxed out my money on Gibbs as well. All three of us were really going after Gibbs. I personally, man, with my eye, I don't know, I have the Shane eye, but my eye, I just don't. I see Gibbs being like one of the most talented running backs I've seen coming in the NFL in a really long time. The Lions have a top 5 offensive line. St. Brown is there. When Jameson Williams come back, he was the top rated. Him and Garrett Wilson were equally as rated coming out of college, as far as everything they can do. I know they have a little bit of different skill set, but there hasn't been a guy coming into the league, I'd say, besides Tyreek Hill with that kind of speed. And it's going to be real interesting to see what he does when you got St. Brown running underneath, and then you got Jameson going over the top, and then you got to worry about Gibbs. Good fucking luck. I think that Lions team is going to make a big run this year. But what do you think? Highly in the playoffs or what? Playoffs. Let's move on to the second team here.
All right, let me check this out right here. So the second team is Bishop Sycamore. He goes by Young Kick. So I'm looking at his team right now. His strengths to me are his running backs. You got Christian McCaffrey and Bijan as your duo, you're doing well. He also has Najee in the flex. Hate that pick. I think he sucks.
So do I.
I think he sucked at Alabama. There's nothing dynamic about him. He's just big. He could take a pounding. He could, get a lot of carries. But ultimately, I think his job gets taken by Jaylen Warren. So I don't like that pick.
The poor man, Derrick Henry there.
Yeah, 100%. Just not the athlete. The weaknesses are his wide receivers. Like Bill was talking about, I love what I've seen from Ridley in the offseason. If you look at like his movement skills, the way he gets in and out of his breaks is unbelievable. I don't know how to explain it. If you got the eye, you know what you see. But to me, he's still a top 5 route runner, even without, with missing a year or two. So I like that pick. But man, it's bad after that. You look at his receivers, and he's got Mike the Slant King Thomas, washed up possession receiver.
Oh, he's terrible.
He's got Jerry Jeudy, who's hurt, hasn't lived up to expectations. I love Jeudy coming out of Bama, but he hasn't really done anything in the NFL, and I don't trust Russ, to make his career. So, that's that. My favorite pick it has to be Bijan. So, like I've told Bill before, if you're a legendary running back at a powerhouse school, it's likely to translate in the NFL right away.
Are we calling Texas a powerhouse school still?
Yeah, I mean, if you're from Texas, it's different now, but
they haven't been good. They haven't been a powerhouse team in 20 years, buddy. Since we were in high school.
Agree, but they still get top recruiting classes and things like that.
They do.
So what I'm saying, he was a legend for that school, and his size, his tape, that should translate right away, and especially with the Atlanta offensive line, it's one of the best, you already know their coach just runs. And I would too if Desmond Ritter was my QB. So that's my favorite pick. If we can, you want to go to the verdict, or you want to?
You go to the verdict, and I'll give you a couple thoughts.
Okay, so the verdict is he's a bottom feeder.
So my two comments there. I think he's not going to make the playoffs either. And here's my reason why. Tua. He went with him late. I've done videos on this already. Tua's going to get hurt, man. That offensive line in Miami is not good. They have obviously dynamic weapons. You can argue the best duo in the NFL. I mean, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown in Philly. There's a few others in Cincinnati, but it's hard to go against Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Running backs, Mostert, Jeff Wilson, the young kid they got. Those guys, they probably need to make a move for Jonathan Taylor if they really want to have a chance, in my opinion. But to the point, I think Tua is quite literally one big hit away from never playing again in the NFL. And I think that could easily happen this year. And one of my biggest critiques with Tua, just besides that, is that he's a very short quarterback. And if you're a short quarterback and you can't really move, you can't see over your offensive line. You can't see the defense, what they're doing. A robber really can get into those lanes and get a pick. I think last year that whole scheme caught the NFL off guard and they weren't ready for it. But this year they have a lot of tape on them, and I think Tua is going to regress as far as him dotting and all those things down the field. On top of that, we talked about Najee Harris, and then lastly, I'll say Bijan. Everybody thinks that he's going to come and be the Derrick Henry, because what Arthur did in Tennessee and how that he deployed Derrick Henry. But there's a big difference between the two teams and the way they were in their development. So you drafted a top 15 pick, top 10 pick on Pitts and London. You got a great offensive line. Algier looked fucking fantastic last year. Do you think that he's just going to disappear? No. He's going to be in the mix. Cordell Patterson actually is going to be in the mix as well. They got to find a way to use him as a weapon. I mean, I'm not going to put him in the same category as Debo, but I'm going to say that, when you're going to spend a 40, 50 bucks on him like Kicker did, or you are going to spend a top 5 pick on him in Snake, you want a guy who's going to be like Chubb or Pollard, who's going to just be getting the ball all the time and you don't have anybody to worry about. That's not going to happen with Algier. I think he's a fucking fantastic talent, but yeah, let's move on to the next team.
All right, next team. We have the comeback kid. Let me scroll down real quick. All right, so his strengths, this may sound pretty bad, but I say none really. I mean, honestly, I see a lot of good players. It's similar to the 1-800 SEC. Yeah.
Did he answer the phone on Sunday?
What was that?
SEC. Did he answer the phone on Sunday? 1-800 SEC. That's a tough call right there. You wasted a couple quarters on that one at the payphone.
No doubt. But yeah, man, I see that his wide receivers are all number 2s, but they can put up number 1 numbers. So that's why I say it's not really a strength, but it could be. It could go either way. I see a major decline in Josh Jacobs' production and generally just the Raiders, period. I'm off them.
I did a video on that. I agree.
I love how hard Dameon Pierce runs, but at the end of the day, he's on the Houston Texans. So what's his ceiling? What's his cap? I don't know. His weaknesses is clearly his flex. I mean, Jacoby Myers to me is trash. I'm not even going to put him on the roster. And he has nobody on his bench really worth a damn unless JT ends his holdout. And that's where his team can change dramatically. If that happens, now the running backs are a strength, one of the best in the whole league. So there's that. As far as my favorite pick goes, is Zay Flowers. I love Zay. He's my favorite receiver coming out of the draft. He looks like Tyreek to me. I watched him go against FSU. Nobody could keep up with him. His stop-start is ridiculous. I wanted him badly, but the price was steep. I didn't think, my competitors would like him as much as me. So you got to know when to back out. Um, and as my verdict, man, it's the playoffs, especially if JT returns. I think he will, just because I saw what happened with Le'Veon Bell. I think it's a stupid move. So you're either gonna play or he's gonna get traded because nobody wants to forfeit money like that.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about this guy's team, but I agree that he's a playoff team. I'll say that JT, I don't think he plays another down for Indianapolis. So what's going to happen there is either A, he's not going to play at all this season, or B, the Colts are going to have to move him for somebody less than what they think they want. Like they're going to have to move him for a later round pick that essentially just give up and move on. That's it sucks for the Colts, but I see that being the situation there. I'll say that Allen, he's really figured out the last 2 years, figured out a little soft spot in our auction, finding Burrow and Higgins for cheap. I think that that's a nice little combo that he's able to get cheap back-to-back years now. He's built his team very similar the last 2 years, and he made a deep run last year.
Agreed. All right, moving on. Looks like we're moving on to the criminals.
The criminals, his own team. I'll give some critique here because he's not going to critique his team as much as others.
So look, I put the strength is arguably everything, but but the quarterback. So here's what I had to say. I just had to say, Garrett Wilson, he's just a twitched up receiver. You saw the numbers he put up with trash at quarterback. What's he going to do this year with Aaron Rodgers? The
Huge.
Tua Waddle connection's been there since Alabama. That's not going to change unless Tua gets hurt, which is a legit concern. We talked about off-season reports. DJ Moore has been the star of the Bears camp. My hope is that he does for Fields what A.J. Brown did for Hurts. They're not the same player. A.J. Brown's a top 5 receiver in my opinion. But, there's hope there. I have Kenny Walker and NTN as my 2 running backs. I love both their talents and their situations as far as the offensive goes. Darren Waller, he's just the number 1 pass catcher on that team. So, there's garbage all around him. Who else is Danny Jones going to throw to? That's why I was high on him. And other than that, man, my flex is David Montgomery. I've been on this guy for a long time. He hasn't amounted to much. I liked how he could break tackles and all that type of stuff. I just envisioned him, playing the Jamal Williams role in that Lions offense. And I hope it comes to fruition there. So that's all the strengths. That was pretty long, I must admit. But my weakness, that's my QB, man. You got your top 3. You got your Mahomes, you got your Allen, you got your Hurts. And then the 2 that I wanted was either Lamar Vick Jackson or Justin Fields. Me and Bill, we had a war, kept tapping, and I just backed out last second. Bill took him. It was too steep for me. How I look at it with Kirk Cousins is they got a terrible defense, and they got the best receiver in the game, along with Addison, who's a pro, man. He's a pro route runner. He's not a great athlete, but all those underneath routes and just getting open, I think they're gonna throw a lot.
He'll look better than Thielen.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in his career, you would take Addison over Thielen. I'll take over here from now. I know you got them yourself in the playoffs. I do agree with you being in the playoffs. Go ahead.
My favorite pick, Tank Dell, man. His tape is filthy. You watch that dude? Oh my God, just the dead leg. He legit reminds me of Peter Warrick back in the day. Like, he just does guys nasty. Just watch the film and you'll be a believer. Unfortunately, he plays for the Texans, but C.J. Stroud asked the Texans to draft him. So, to me, there might be something there.
Yeah, you weren't the only one. Anybody who's dives deep into fantasy football, Tank Dell fell on their radar. He made a lot of noise in camp this year. And the problem with that team is he's got to make his way into the lineup. They're gonna hold respect to Robert Woods, unfortunately. So maybe he's an injury away from getting a lot of opportunity. But eventually, yeah, he's a talented guy. If he, I don't know how smart he is and how he's learning the playbook, et cetera, like things like that. But hopefully he can do something for you, your team. I've talked to you about this already before, but I'll say it on camera. I believe your team is going to go as far as your quarterback and Waller take you. I've seen teams like this in the Diamond a lot. As a matter of fact, this team really reminds me of High's team last year. And it was just a really fucking good team, but the tight end and quarterback position were fucking terrible. And what happened was he ended up making a move for Kittle, but it was just a little bit too late for him in figuring out his quarterback position. The problem with half point PPR leagues and our league specifically, and I might be giving out too much information here, but we're 20 yards per point as a quarterback, which is less than other leagues. So the quarterback position becomes more valuable. And what happens is in our league, from the data I've seen, the quarterbacks that are elite, they get you into the playoffs. Unless you really fuck up your draft after you're getting an elite quarterback, you're more than likely going to be in the playoffs. And really, that's my only goal, is to make the playoffs. Because once you make the playoffs, you're rolling the dice. And hopefully throughout the year, you can complete a team that's maybe not complete week one, right? For you, if Kirk Cousins has a good year, or if you end up finding a quarterback and it's not too late, like a high situation last year, yeah, your team's going to have a really good opportunity to win a championship this year. Darren Waller, I think he got certified and stamped as like a tier 2 elite tight end, essentially, when he had one good year in the NFL, to be honest. I don't know if he'll ever have another good year in the NFL. He looked shitty the last couple of years. I know he's been banged up and whatnot, but he kind of lost like his ability to catch the ball. Like he just, I don't know. I'm not a big believer in Darren, but we'll see. You know what I mean? When you got Saquon Barkley, you have to concentrate on him and stopping him. He's so elite. I put him as the most dynamic running back in the NFL. I put him as more talented than Christian McCaffrey with my eyes. So that gives Darren opportunity. I'd be curious to see Wan'Dale Robinson come back. Before he tore his ACL last year, he had that one big game. I like the way he plays. He's a good slot. Let's move on to the next team, though.
All right, the next one is Justin Field.
Justin Field.
Right. Yeah, let me see.
He changed his name. That must be Kicker.
Yeah, it's Justinified Christians. Justified Christians. I don't know, man.
That's Lee's team. Yeah. Weird team name. Sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, the strength. This is wide receivers. I already say, I think Justin's the best in the game. Justin Jefferson. I expect Dotson to break out this year with Howell at QB. Howell is another guy on my team that I truly believe in. Unfortunately, his schedule is the worst. It's like 32nd. But, I believe in his talent. And Christian Watson, man, that guy could be going deep a lot. Jordan Love has a lot of doubters, but I don't doubt his arm strength. I will say that. With that said, I said his strengths are his wide receivers. I think Drake London sucks, man. I think Drake London, Mike Pittman Jr., man, they're all just glorified possession receivers. They both came out of the same school, which hasn't produced a legit playmaker since Reggie Bush. So, yeah, I'm off those two guys. I really don't see any weaknesses in his team. My favorite pick, which I talked about, is Jahan Dotson. You watch him, his hands are like magnets. And he's a great route runner, to the point where I think he puts up better numbers than Terry McLaurin this year.
So do I. I think that as well, by the way. Yeah. I think that Hal, Terry is hurt to begin the year too. So Hal's going to have to throw it to Dotson. And then that exactly. And then it might never turn back to Terry, because he's gonna like throwing to Dotson. That's just what happens, especially with a young quarterback. Go ahead.
Right. No, that was it. Playoffs.
I don't like his team. Totally disagree with you. I think that he's not going to make the playoffs this year, and I'll give you one reason why. And I'm not going to go into extreme detail, but he has stacks of the same teams, way too much. I believe he has a quarterback, a tight end, and let me know. Because I'm not looking at it right now. He's got a 3-way stack that he's going to deploy every week.
Yeah, well, he has Hawkinson and Madison. He has
Yes,
Aaron
Minnesota.
Jones.
There you go. He's got
And he has Justin too. So he has.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's terrible. I think that when you do that, you lower your ceiling tremendously. He'll have some big weeks when that team blows up. But this is coming from a Minnesota hater. So like I don't like Minnesota. Like I didn't go into detail about Kirk Cousins with your team, but I think they regressed tremendously this year. I think that without Dalvin Cook, teams are going to play soft in the box and they're going to try to stop the pass now. And Kirk Cousins, I don't like that, Kirk. I don't fucking like that. You're not good to me. I think you're terrible, to be honest with you. And he has way too many Vikings on the same team. I'm not a big believer of Lee's team. Go ahead, Jeff. Okay. Shane O'Mac.
All right, moving on. We're going to John's team here.
I have some thoughts on this team.
All right, here goes some slight disrespect here again. His strengths, none. Other than Lamar and Saquon, which are obvious strengths, this team is straight trash to me.
Quarterback's a strength, then. Quarterback's a strength.
Sure. When you have those 3 to 5 quarterbacks, you can always say that's a strength, but that doesn't really take much thought to me.
Sure.
Anyways, his weaknesses, he has Sutton, who hasn't done anything in years, comes off injuries. Connor, just an awful offense. Kyle Pitts has been a huge letdown. Hollywood Brown, another Cardinal. Like, stay away from Cardinals, period. I don't like any of those players, and those are all in his starting lineup. My favorite pick is Lamar. Everybody in the league knows I love that guy. He now has just weapons all over the place, and he has Todd Monk and call him plays, so he's going to slang that thing.
Yeah. I think that's
But he's about 100%.
I think that's big for Mark Andrews this year, too, that new system. Yeah, John, I thought he really did a great job in the beginning of the draft, and then I don't know what happened. So he blew his load on Saquon and was hyped up, and then he kind of just disappeared. But he got him for good value, so it was a good pick. True. Some of us stayed away from him for whatever reason. He got him in the 40s, which is bizarre for Saquon. But then I don't really know what happened, to be honest with you. His tight end position remind me is Pitts. I think Pitts could bounce back. That offensive line is so good in Atlanta. Like he had a bunch of plays last year that Mariota just missed him on, and then he got hurt. The talent's through the roofs. I get he's not a great run after the catch kind of guy like Travis Kelce, but there's no reason why he can't have a better year, especially when you have Bijan that you got to worry about now. Like, they have to worry about these guys. I think that I have John as missing the playoffs as well, but I think if Lamar bounces back to an MVP year, he's going to be in the playoffs. So
possible for sure.
Yeah.
All right, next team, Korea. This guy usually always finds a way to sneak in the playoffs. Strengths to me are Josh Allen and Nick Chubb. Simple as that. One of the top 2 at their respective positions. Just Chubb, man, he's just a wrecking ball, and he may get more receptions now that Kareem Hunt is gone.
For sure.
So, weaknesses is age. When you have Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, man, they're washed up at this point in their careers, in my opinion.
I agree.
So
plenty of people out there wouldn't agree with us on Keenan Allen, but I think Keenan Allen's done. I think there's a reason why he was hurt all year last year. I think it's piling 100%. On his body right now.
Right, he's on the decline. I love Kellen Moore for his numbers potentially, but yeah, I think his career's on the downslide. My rule is if you're approaching 30, I'm off you unless you're Travis Kelce. That's really it.
Yeah, and you don't spend money on tight ends anyway, so.
Right. My favorite pick is Khalil Herbert for the money he spent.
Me too.
If you look at the data,
he led the league yards per carry.
run, almost any other running back in the league, up there with like Tony Pollard, I guess, like expected yards, something like that. So if he gets the bulk of the carries with the Bears who do run a lot, man, that could be a steal for, I don't know what he paid for him, like $8 to $12, something like that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I still don't think he makes the playoffs.
No.
Bottom. No.
I think he's got the best team in our league, and I say that humbly. I don't think he messed up at all. I think that in every the way our league is, it's so sharp that you're gonna have weaknesses somewhere. Like, right, you had to sacrifice your quarterback essentially.
Right.
And for him, I guess you can argue the older receivers, right? But you can also make the argument, dude, he got Mike Evans for cheap. It's not like he had to spend a lot of money on him. And he's never not had 1,000 yards in his career. Baker Mayfield likes to throw the ball downfield. And I can make an argument for you about Drake London and Michael Pittman Jr. And the same thing goes for Evans. When you're that size, all the other variables don't matter as much. Just throw it in their area and they can get catches. I think that when you have Chubb and Josh Allen alone, you're going to probably make the playoffs. And then you throw in Herbert as your flex, and he has a good second running back too, right? Who is it?
If you like Rachaad White,
I like him for half point PPR, but I guess if with him and Mike Evans, that's not a good stack. I think the Bucs are going to regress a lot. But I put him in the playoffs. Let's move on.
All right, next we have PDT, the Physics Dream Team. That's the class where this all started, maybe like 20 years ago.
Our league's been going for 20 years. That's
something
where,
like that.
That's where it started.
At 20 buy-in, and now look where it is. So we've come a long ways. A lot of loyalty, a lot of toxicity, but we're still friends. We're still together. All right, PDT. This guy probably thinks I'm biased, but I keep it real with all these picks. His strength is his QB, man. If you have Mahomes, you never feel that you're out of it.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, I've never had him, but like I've seen him beat me like 4 touchdowns on a Monday night, and I'm just steaming mad going to bed to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the Drip King. We call him the Drip King in the Diamond.
Yeah, the Drip King. The weaknesses, man, it's really bad. His receivers, Juju is a wide receiver 2-3, and he's on a bad offense right now. Terrible. I already told you I don't like Pittman. I don't think he's a special talent, and he has a rookie inaccurate quarterback. So with that said, he does have A.J. Brown, and that was my number one wide receiver for the draft capital range that needed to be spent to get him. To me, I call him T.O. If you are around with T.O. and Randy Moss, the game is similar. So, yeah. My favorite pick is Miles Sanders. I don't like Miles Sanders' talent either. I think he's a finesse running back.
You got him for $4, buddy.
And that's why I like him.
One of the most biggest steals of the draft.
For a bell cow back, probably, though, in a bad offense.
We fell asleep on that one. I bid on him, but I just couldn't. I didn't need him, so I needed a receiver at that point in time. I couldn't spend any money there.
Yeah, he's a bottom feeder, though, to me still. Sorry, Kyle.
I got Kyle in the playoffs this year. You kind of are understanding my theory on everything right now. When you have one of those kind of quarterbacks, I have a hard time putting you out of the playoffs. Throwing Derrick Henry in the mix, I think he's one of these years is going to fall off a map, though. I don't know what year it's going to be, but he's approaching the end of his career. He's not an elusive guy. He relies on just pure physicality. So I don't know how many years Derrick has. I'm not going to count him out, but I stay away from those players because I don't want to be the person who has them on their decline year. So that's why I stay away from him. I'm giving out too much information right now. But with that being said, I like Kyle's team. I put him in the playoffs. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyways, moving on, man. The next team is Automatic Pickens. This was bizarre. So this is a new guy, This guy shows up and he's not prepared. His app's not working. I'm like, what the? Like, he's literally having the computer pick his players for him at this huge buy-in. Just blew my mind. But at the end of the day, man, Yahoo did pretty good.
No, I totally disagree, but go ahead.
Really? Okay, okay. So here's the strengths. He has elite ceiling players at QB, wide receiver, and running back. I mean, you just forget the rest of the roster when you have Jalen Hurts, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, and Austin Eckler. Those four are going to keep you in it no matter what. To me, his weakness is his wide receiver 3 and his flex. But like I said, who cares when you have that core 4? My favorite pick, if you consider it a true pick, is Rashad Penny, just because of the unknown. If he does get his carries, he's shown what he can do with it. His yards per carry, his explosiveness, all that in that offense, he could really take off. But who knows what happens with that backfield? And then obviously, my verdict is the playoffs.
Wow, playoffs,
Yeah.
playoffs,
I don't think
playoffs.
To tell you the truth.
So I'm not gonna go into a lot of depth here, but I'll say this. Yeah, the computer spent his whole budget on the first 4 players essentially that were nominated because it kept just outbidding us until it got them. Yeah, his 4 players are amazing, but I've seen teams built like this. For example, Alex always takes this approach, and it's next to impossible to win. I totally disagree with you, by the way. Do the math on those 4 guys. Let's all give them 20 points apiece on average. And that's being nice, by the way. 20 points each week, all 4 of those guys. That's 80 points. That's not enough when you consider the rest of his roster is complete dog shit. And with that being said, a guy who comes into the draft unprepared, do you really think that he's going to be able to make free agent pickups to help out his team throughout the year?
Anything, yeah.
So,
I think he's free money, but
yeah. But I got him out of the playoffs. Go for it. You're next.
Okay. Next up, we got Whoopsie. So his strength to me is his wide receivers. But that's only if Cup returns post ankle injury and he currently has a hamstring problem. I don't like drafting players with ankle injuries, period. But with that said, man, he's just stacked. He has Cup, he has CeeDee Lamb, he has Tyler Lockett, he has Mike Williams, he has Brandon Ayuk, he has Jordan Addison. It's just crazy. To me, he put too much of the pot in that position. So if I were him, I'd be trading one of those receivers for something. His weakness is his tight end, but if you don't have Kelsey or Andrews and maybe Waller, like I'm alluding to, then it's all just a dart throw at the position.
Agreed.
My favorite is Addison. Like I said, he's not an athlete, an elite athlete, but he's a technician and will fit that number 2 role perfectly. And I do think he makes the playoffs.
Yeah, when I look at his roster, I'm on the fence. I'd have to really do a breakdown like you, where I'm putting 6 in and 6 out. But I don't like his team as much as you do. And I'm not looking at it right now, but I'm pretty sure I hate his quarterback. I'm pretty sure I hate his tight end.
Yeah, you hate that.
Yeah, when you have Dak as your quarterback, you're not going to make the fantasy playoffs. I just think that quarterbacks matter that much, buddy. When you got a guy who's going to go out there in 5 and 6 weeks, he's going to throw out 15 to 16 points because my boy Tony Pollard runs in 3 touchdowns. Then it's tough to win those weeks. And all that means is that with all those receivers that you're talking about, you can only start 3 or 4 of them, and depending on if you're going to put one in the flex. So now you're trying to pick and choose which one's going to do well every week based on matchups. And that's so difficult to do. I'd rather just have.
You mad at yourself when you choose the wrong one.
Yeah.
It's the feeling.
I'd rather just have guys that you're forced into playing and you just live and die with them weekly. And then you essentially rely on your core 4, as you said. Typically, that's what I like to do, and then try to just build your team around them with boom or bust kind of guys. That's what I like to do, especially in a half-point PPR or no point per reception. I can't tell you yes or no for him on the playoffs though. Go for the next guy. Might be
All right,
me, fantasy football aces.
that's for last. All right, we'll go to I am nice.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
nice. I ain't nice, just so y'all know out there. I never tell y'all that, but I ain't fucking nice. This guy Gary M, he's a nice guy.
Oh, man. Let me see here. I am nice. All right, so for Gary, his strength is his tight end. He has Kelsey.
As we're recording, he's probably gonna miss Thursday.
Right. True.
As we're
True.
recording, yes.
That's a risk. You spend a quarter of your budget on Kelsey. That's a hard loss right there.
He's a dog,
So
so I don't think he'll be out long, but I definitely think he's gonna miss Thursday.
right. His weakness to me is his bench. It's just really, really bad. But he has a lot of X factors that could change the outlet or the outlook of his team. He has Kadarius, Joystick, Tony. Yeah, everyone knows I love him, even though he's a Gator. His agility is crazy, but he's just injured all the time. He probably I don't know how well he can run routes, but just give him the ball in space and let him do his thing. Gainwell, that's another Mike Norvell running back. He knows what he's looking for. But to me, he's just an average talent, but he may be the most trusted running back in that offense. So that could work out for him. Ramondre Stevenson, I was on him as a rookie. Bill was on him last year. He's a stallion, but that offense caps him to me. Mac Jones is in it. Bill Belichick needs to retire. And then basically, if you have 3 QBs, you probably have none. And his QB is Deshaun Watson, who I think never returns to form. My favorite pick is St. Brown. Once again, I don't think he's a huge talent, another USC guy, but he gets open.
Hardest worker in the NFL.
Underneath routes, little curls and things like that. Yeah, he gets dotted all game. And golf targets him a lot, but I think he's a bottom feeder.
Yeah, with his team, I think that he made a huge error at the running back position. He did a similar draft as John as far as really starting off tremendous and just tremendous. But after that, he blew it. I feel like he left a ton of money on the field in the auction, which is a rookie mistake, and it's his rookie year, so that's what happens. I totally disagree with you in the Philadelphia situation, obviously, which you're going to get into here next when you cover my team. But I totally disagree with you on that the Philadelphia backfield. I think DeAndre Swift is an absolute fucking dog. Like, I think that talent is through the fucking roofs, and people forget that he's only 23 years old, 24 years old. He has not been he's still in his rookie contract. And you can say the same thing about Saquon. You could be like, oh, he's an injury prone. No, motherfucker, he's not injury prone. He's just had bad luck. And maybe this is the year that he comes into that Philadelphia system. And if you think Miles Sanders had a big year, DeAndre Swift's way better than him. On top of that, he's going to catch the ball out of the backfield. DeAndre is the best route runner at the running back position in the NFL. I think that he's really going to take over that backfield. I keep saying that it's going to be a 60%, 20%, 20% split. Penny probably will get the goal line carries. And I think that yeah, for sure. And Gainwell will work in. But Gainwell's a 5th round pick. He's been in the system forever. There's a reason why they keep moving people into the depth chart to like Penny and Swift because they don't want him to be the starter, right? So he's an insurance package in case Swift does get banged up. But I really think he has a big year this year. I think that Gainwell is a waste putting him in. He's going to sit here and produce 2 or 3 points for him in the first couple of weeks, and then he's going to go into the bench and never return unless he's forced into a starting role. Another mistake that he made is he has McKinnon, he has Travis Kelce, and he has Kadarius Toney. So when you have three Chiefs, and then you're kind of maybe forced into deploying all 3, Your ceiling comes down. Travis Kelce's already banged up. I have him missing the playoffs as well.
All right, man.
Welcome to Fantasy Football Aces. Keep it raw with me. Keep it raw.
Hey, we already talked about it, man. If I had to say one word, I told Bill earlier, it's incomplete. Incomplete. So we'll go through the strengths. He has a high-end player at QB, running back, and tight end. Tony Pollard, everybody in the league knows I love this guy. Jerry Jones is a complete idiot for giving Zeke all those touches for the last two plus years. He's the most dynamic running back in the league, and I wanted him badly. But once again, I had to just pull out once it got too high. I picked up Fields somehow on the waiver last year, and he balled out for me. So I love his talent. We talked about this, but I follow college recruiting too, and Fields was can't miss. He unfortunately chose Georgia, who didn't know how to use them, and was stuck in that whole pro style and commitment. I think to Jake Fromm at the point. It was stupid, man. But anyways, Fields is an elite talent, and we already seen what he can do with his legs, which is important in fantasy. Now here we go. The weakness. It's the receivers, man. It's just abysmal. It's a wasteland out there. The worst in the league. I mean, to me, Hopkins is just a possession receiver at this point. He's still a great possession receiver, but he also is playing with the Titans in a run-based offense. And you don't want them going to a rookie quarterback. Tannehill is already not good. Imagine them going to the dude from Kentucky. What else? Sky Moore. We talked about this. I don't like Sky Moore. I don't think he's a good athlete. My comp was he's like a poor man's Golden Tate. Yeah, maybe he'll be like Travis Kelce's a security blanket, but he'll run all these little shallow routes for Kelce. Sure. And yeah, maybe he has a higher ceiling because Mahomes is a quarterback. I simply don't like him. And then all his other receivers, you literally just throw them against the wall and hope and pray that one of them sticks. There's guys on there that I do like. I do like somewhat Quentin Johnston's talent and the offense that he could be put in with the two injury-prone receivers ahead of him.
He's going to be playing, though. They're going to play a lot of 3 receiver sets. He'll be in over Palmer.
Palmer, too. So I don't know. Like, you hear mixed reviews because he had a ton of drops in college. He's been dropping stuff in the preseason.
I think that's a little overblown.
I look at his tape, and I just don't see it. But, like, without the pads, I do see it. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. My favorite pick, just off potential, is James Cook. But like I told Billy, he's no Dalvin, man. He wasn't Dalvin at Georgia. Okay? I mean, like to me that almost makes me angry when you come like little brothers almost never amount to big brother in sports. And I'm neither one, just so you guys know. But he wasn't elite at Georgia. Dalvin was a legend at Florida State. He's now in year 3 and he's still not elite. He has elite traits, but he's gonna fight with Josh Allen and Dameon Pierce on the goal line in the red zone. So I see some vultures there. We already talked about Swift. That's a huge X factor there. Like I said, I gambled on Miles Sanders last year and he balled out in that offense. So Swift has a higher player. But my verdict for Fantasy Football Aces is bottom feeder.
Wow. I felt like you had. I don't feel like you had 6 playoff guys then. The math didn't seem right to me.
I did. So I got 1-800 SEC. I got Comeback Kid. I got myself. I got Justin Fied Christians. I got Automatic Pickens. And that might have been 6 right there. Oh, I don't know, man. I checked it out. It all made sense at one point, but yeah.
I felt like I felt like it was short a playoff team, but maybe I'm
Oh,
wrong. Um,
whoopsie. Playoff too.
I'm gonna defend myself here a little bit. Just give my take. So first of all, I want to say this. I kind of already talked about how important the quarterback position is in the Diamond League because our settings are a little bit different. I forgot to mention that our quarterbacks are only -1 on interceptions, and they're 20 yards per point on throwing. So that's a variable that I don't think a lot of people realize in the Diamond, and they're all going to see this, unfortunately. But that automatically makes the quarterback more valuable in our league. Also, we're half point PPR. So I don't give a fuck about receivers. I haven't the last any year that I won. I just want one real dog at receiver, and the rest I'll figure it out as the year goes on. I believe that when you're building a fantasy football team, you don't need players that are just straight athletes that are meeting the eye in every single player, because guys like Sky Moore are a great example. He's going to be the number one receiver on that team. We're going to keep Travis Kelce as a tight end. Juju left the building. Hardman left the building. That's 1,300 yards that left the building. Where Pat Mahomes threw for 5,000 yards. Let's say he just throws for 4,500, 1,500 go to Travis Kelce. You got 3,000 yards. Where do you think they're going to go? They're going to go to Sky Moore. I guarantee you Sky Moore has more than 1,000 yards receiving this year. I guarantee you he has at least 6 touchdowns. He's way better than Juju Smith-Schuster. When I watched him on the field last year, including in the Super Bowl and the few times that he got onto the field last year, every time he caught the ball, I was like, wow, I like the way he looks. I like the way he moves. I think could be like Doug Baldwin personally. I said this to you in the chat. I think that they're going to move him around. I've been listening to his interviews because I like to hear where a kid's brain's at. And he said it himself that the offense was complicated. They put Juju and Hardman in front of him. They wanted him just to ease into learning the offense. He's learning the X, Y, and the X, Z, and the slot. So he's going to get moved around all over. Not only is Kadarius Toney injury prone, but he's a fucking bonehead. That's obvious. So
that's why.
So I don't. And one thing I've learned is that quarterbacks like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, they fall in love with guys they can rely on. Now,
True.
Do you think that Julian Edelman, for example, is that much more talented of a guy than Sky Moore? I'm just talking strictly talent.
No, but he was a dog.
Sure. So we don't know what Sky Moore is yet. Maybe he's a dog himself. We'll find out this year. I really love him. As far as D-Hop is concerned, he came back from suspension last year, and without the suspension, he would have been on pace for 1,200 yards and probably 8 touchdowns. He was performing at a wide receiver 1, essentially, in fantasy, and on a shitty Cardinals team in a shitty Cardinals situation. I think T-Hop still has a lot in the tank. There was still a lot of hype with him last year going into the year. Going into that Tennessee system, they've never had a receiver like him. I think it's actually going to help Derrick Henry a little bit. I agree that he is not the biggest athlete, but he's a better version of Pittman and all those guys that you named earlier. And I think that in a half-point PPR format, if I can have him for over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns with Sky Moore, that 1-2 punch is more than enough to go along with Justin Fields, who I totally agree with you, by the way. He has gotten a lot of slack and from the general public who think that he is not very good. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. You're talking about a team the Bears have had the worst, literally the worst talent around him that you can in the NFL. I'd say in the NFL, like you bring in DJ Moore and you compared him to AJ Brown. He's going to be the poor man's version of that concept. And obviously you don't have Devontae Smith, who's elite. But you have Mooney and Claypool to go with DJ Moore. But with that being said, the offensive line's improved. They drafted the kid from Tennessee at tackle. He's a little banged up, but Justin Fields is, I think he is a smarter, better version of Lamar Jackson. And that's crazy for a crazy take for some people out there because Lamar Jackson has won an MVP in this league. But I think that I think this is going to be a coming out party for Justin Fields this year. They were the worst team in the NFL last year. That means their schedule is fucking easy this year. The only problem is they play the West, AFC West. I think and that's tough. Those 4 games are going to be tough. But hopefully Chris Jones is still holding out because we play KC week 3 on the road. I believe Justin Fields is going to be huge. I think James Cook in that offense is huge, especially for half-point PPR. I love DeAndre Swift, like we talked about. Pollard is going to be the best running back in all of fantasy if Nick Chubb isn't, in my opinion. And then you got a guy named Mark Andrews who I'm not quite sure on yet. But if he can even be, somewhere in the middle of last year and then 2 years ago, somewhere in the middle, you're talking about a tight end 2, and I don't think there's any way and plus I know how I build teams and the way I add in free agency. I'm going to find somebody I can count on at the receivers position. And one person you really forgot to mention, and actually before we get off the line here and go to bed, I want to hear your take on this. There's a man named Jameson Williams going to be popping up in my wide receiver core after week 6. Now, if you ask me before you go, his tape to me is fucking unbelievable. Like, I think he looks, man, Jameson Williams looks like he can be one of the best receivers in the NFL. I compare him. I don't know who I would compare him to him, but the way he looks and moves, maybe like even a faster version of Justin Jefferson. I just don't know if he has this same route running ability. But I love Jameson Williams. I'm really high in him going in, deploying into my roster week 7 on.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's a terrible comp just because I don't see the route running ability from him, but he's got speed to burn. I loved his tape coming out of Alabama. And I liked how they went up and got him. But the reports are really bad, just to be frank. And then being out of football for a year and a half, man, I don't know. That's a huge X factor. He could, be something for sure.
Yeah.
Because if he touches the ball, he's another one of those guys, man. It just changes the scoreboard right away.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna do a video here in the next couple days here on rookies. There's this website that I really like to use that does gradings for rookies every year, and to me, it's been really reliable for receivers specifically. Garrett Wilson and Jameson Williams were the highest 2 rated receivers coming out of the draft last year, and then this year they have Quentin Johnson number 1, and number 2, he's tied with the kid in Seattle.
Okay.
And then Jordan Addison 3. But with that being said, for me personally, I think that the Detroit GM has the eye, and I think, I think that he saw something with Jameson and Gibbs, and he's on to something right now. So I think that once my only concern with Jameson, and it's a legit concern, is he seems like one of those guys that might be the fuck up, like the guy that just fucks up all the time. Like, he's already on a 6-game suspension for this dumbass. What's that?
Yeah, he's in a doghouse, man.
Yes.
You got to hard out of that.
I'm a little worried about that. That you start to fall in the Kadarius Toney category then, right? Just a guy who's just not living up to his potential, and he keeps letting you down every year. But I'm just hoping to deploy him late. If I can get him in there with Sky Moore, Hopkins, and if maybe midway through the year, Quentin Johnston is an elite player, I think that receiving group can be just as good as last year's, where everybody was talking shit about my receiving core, but then all of a sudden you're looking at it and you're like, wait a minute, Devontae Smith, Garrett Wilson, that's a fucking dynamic duo last year, right? So,
but you picked Garrett in free agency.
Sure.
Man. I don't see anybody on the wire that's worth a damn.
Maybe Jamison Williams. That's what I'm saying.
No, but that's crazy that we even let a first round receiver hit the wire like that. I don't get
let me give you another fun fact before we get out of here. Justin Jefferson, the same thing happened to him his rookie year in our league and in lots of other leagues in fantasy. He started off really slow in Minnesota, and people were like, "Oh shit, he's not going to play." And all of a sudden, he fell in free agency. I picked him up that year. I won the championship that year with Justin Jefferson.
I blew up for like 160 a game, and then you just blew your fantasy load on that guy.
I spent everything on him. Yeah,
something I would.
Yeah, I thought that was in that year. I remember specifically looking at tape, and I was like, this dude's fucking unbelievable. I'm putting him in. Look at it now. He's the number one receiver in the NFL. But that'll do it. That was a lot of fun. I can't wait until we play each other this year, and you're gonna be sitting right here with me, and I'm hoping I can get. What's that?
I said I got a lot of buys when I play you. So
shit. But either way, it'll be fun. I enjoy talking to you. I think I want everybody out there to like this to kind of almost be like a reality series where you start to learn about every guy, and you're gonna like certain people, not like other people, cheer for certain people, and it'll be fun. First year you ever put me in the bottom feeders, so I'm looking forward to proving you wrong on that. I am never a bottom feeder, baby. The only way that I'm a bottom feeder this year is if Justin Fields gets hurt. That'll do it, boys. Have a good night. Peace out.
Go Noles.
Go Noles.